So I like this area right here, and no one has that. Usually it goes down crease, and that's really unique. So I'm going to recognize that with this much space right here. All this space is taking care of that. It doesn't look like a giant amount, but it's going to make a big difference. And then this is going to go down and straight across. This is defining that shadow area. And this is unique because he's got this highlight right in the middle there, which doesn't seem to make any sense on other faces, but that's what he looks like. Quite interesting. I'm going to let that really dictate a lot of the exaggeration for this face, is that area under his mouth. Very unique face. I mean, he looks like an attractive guy, looks like pretty average, but he's got some amazing things going on in his face when caricaturists look at him, and more amazing than someone like Steven Tyler or President Bush, because they're easy at this point. We know what their exaggerations are. Or you know, a lot of the people that Jay Leno, you got, oh, he's got a big chin. Yeah. Well, people get excited about that, but a good caricaturist is challenged by certain things. And I don't think that a lot of people look at someone like Jay Leno, a lot of artists, and go, oh, that sounds like fun, I'd like to draw him. Yeah, it's fun, but it's easy. It's really easy, so you're not given any sort of challenge. I need to make his upper lip bigger. Just realized how small I made that. But when you see a challenging face, that's where you get excited. So I'm going to run his upper lip into his nose pretty much. I want that to sort of slide right up in there. And I'll let that mustache be the divider like I said before. The mustache will come down and just sort of play with the top edge there. What an amazing mouth. Weird, weird stuff going on. But that's what the fun is. Alright, so I'm moving kind of slow on this, but I'll get along soon. Get his mustache here. Make this area stick over. So I finished defining his mouth. You know, you don't want to tell yourself, oh, I can't spend too much time on this. If you're really going for likeness, if you're trying to do a quality piece, give yourself the time that you need to get the likeness. I'm going to go ahead and establish a lighter color. I'm ready to start pulling some stuff out of it, pulling some highlights, and I want to start with this lip because this mouth is giving me a little bit of a hassle, and I want it to be just right. So I think that this will help defining this edge. Just a little bit. There we go. And then it's going to tuck right in here in the corner of his mouth. You see that? There we go. Now I'm going to take some of that light and I'm going to throw it right down here. This is a big, big important part of his face. There we go. And right there. I'll bring some of that light over here. On the edge of his mouth, you can see right here in the corner, it wraps straight down. And then carries over here. This is a lot of area, a lot of surface area there. I know I keep harping on it, but it's because every time I look at it, I start to see it new, and I start seeing little things I can do to emphasize it, like bring his mustache up here. And then put a highlight above the mustache. And then have this little piece, shadow from his nose, his glasses. And then bring a highlight up in here. And then there's interesting relationships of where skin moves, where the face folds, things like that. It's really fun to me. So I'm going to taper this in a little bit because it's just not very, doesn't work in space very well. Might make a fun illustration, bringing it way out there. And I like asymmetry. I like things that don't always make sense. But for this one, like I said early on, I want to establish my intention and remember it as I'm treating it like it's a sculpture, sort of. And Sort of. That's one of those phrases I hate, and I say it every now and then for some reason. No reason to say sort of. I'm treating it somewhat like a sculpture, I'll say. And I want to remember that that's my intention, and that that's where I'm going with it. I want to bring this dark in a little bit. So I seem to be working out this area a little bit. Let me try to get the rest of the face built up to this level, and then we'll move forward. So his beard keeps this fairly dark down here, so I'm not going to put too much highlight on that. Might want it on his chin right there. Because that's what's interesting about this area. Not that it goes in here, but that it comes back out at his chin. I love that. There we go. Interesting relationship right there. I love it. So now that I've got that pretty much laid out, I want to really define the dark under this area right there. Make his lip doesn't really not really defined. So I'm going to go ahead and just swipe across there, let this shadow define that lip that rolls off there. I want this to be big. This area, this smirk thing that he's got going. Definitely an important part. And the highlight next to his nose might be one of those sleepers. You don't pick up on it right away, but that shows that there's a plane here, right there, and then it gets dark and then gets light again here. Shows that it dips down a little right here, and that's pretty important because that shows a relationship on his face that of planes and surfaces that is unique to him. I want to bring this slightly darker here, bring it into his nose, and up to this shadow. I'm going to cut into the shadow, make his glass a little smaller. That'll help. Because I'm realizing now that this area is important too. A lot of surface area. I want to even cut away from his glasses like that much. And go ahead and do it over here as well. I'm going to go a little darker now, so I can define where these glasses are. There we go. Alright, so I've got his... This is starting to look fairly sculptural. It's still really rough, but I think we're moving in the right direction. So I'm going to define some of this a little bit more. A little bit of his cheek. It's pretty high, his temple area. There we go. Bring that in, and then his jaw comes right off that. I like that. There we go. That's starting to come along. Kind of cuts down pretty sharply. I'm going to start defining this shadow here underneath his chin. Indicate where I want it to be now. Because it's not a painting or a drawing on paper, I can safely know that I don't have to commit to it. It's nice and loose. This way I can just go, whoops. There you go, fix. It's pretty easy when you work in Photoshop or any painting program. I've recently got Alias Sketchbook Pro. I'm going to start trying that pretty soon. So you might see a podcast in the future with Sketchbook Pro. Different program. I've heard it's a little more intuitive for sketching and for painting in this sort of a setup. We'll see. I'll give it my run, and we'll see what I think of it. Maybe I'll recommend it or diss the heck out of it. Who knows? We'll see. I know a lot of people that really like it, so I'm sure it's fine. Alright, so I'm going to grab this color right here and then work out this mass around here. Don't want to get too dark around there because his cheeks are so big. Just want it to come up to this area right there. It's looking pretty good. As you can see, I was talking about in another podcast, which you may or may not have seen yet. I might not even have it up yet. Depends on how I'm going to put them up. But I was talking about starting with a really exaggerated idea and starting with a really exaggerated drawing, and then in painting it, you can often tame it down and make it end up more of a portrait. That's okay. Sometimes you want to remember what you're doing, because now I'm talking about exaggeration and painting in a sculptural way. That was what my intention was here, and I don't want to lose the intention. So exaggeration was a big part of what I was talking about here. Don't want to miss out on that. Bring his hairline up a little higher.